right. If you got a cold one, you might want to grab it and sit with me for a few minutes because we got a lot to talk about. I've been very hesitant to get on this microphone for a lot of reasons, a whole lot of reasons. And I had been working with a buddy of mine to help him with his new podcast. He's in a completely different industry than most people I know are, but he's been a good friend for a long time. And he's in the kind of business right now where his people need to hear from him. Him specifically. They need a word of encouragement from him, and they need to be walked through all that's going on. And he asked me why you notice I put the Fader Jocks and the Dial a Drummer podcast logos up because I'm going to put this out through all of my feeds, both the podcast feeds, the YouTube channel that I have, my Facebook pages, anywhere where I generally will post media. This is going to go out. I really have not done a whole lot in terms of media, especially the podcasts. The podcasts have both been on hiatus for a year, almost a year now. A lot of reasons for that we can get into some other time. But my friend, who knows me very well, said, Brian, if ever there was a time for you to stop being so worried and so self-conscious about what anybody thinks or what you perceive that anybody will think, it's now. He said, because I know that there are people within your sphere of influence that really need to hear from you right now with all that's going on. And they need your perspective. And that's what I'm going to give you. Here's what we're not going to do. I'm not going to talk about the cause of why all this is happening or what the root causes may be. There's a lot of people that are talking about those things. And that's not the place for me to be, and this isn't the place for us to do that. What I want to talk about is the effects that all of this is having on me and my world and my family and my business, my work, my income. And from having talked to a lot of my friends that do this same kind of stuff, I think we're all in the same boat. So, here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to preach at you. In fact, the stuff that I'm going to tell you, the stuff that I'm going to talk about to you is the stuff I'm talking about to myself right now. During this time, let's just cut right to the chase. I could let you know of the last 10 years what's been going on. Most of it's been really good. The last 2 years have been a different pace. But about 2 years ago, I saw not a pandemic coming, but I definitely saw a recession headed our way. And so I started getting ready for it. And unfortunately, even though I've always had multiple income streams, and I've talked with you about having multiple income streams so that you can weather any of those times when one or two of them go down, I wasn't prepared for this at all. So 2 years of getting ready for something to happen, and I did not foresee this. I didn't foresee that as of Friday, every one of my gigs for the next 2 months, probably the next 4 to 6 months, are gone. There's not a single one. For the next 8 weeks, everything is canceled. The things that are past that, say for the next 6 months, everything is to be determined. I'm planning on them not being there. Most of my studio sessions that were already booked through the end of this past week, at least, most of those studio sessions, whether they were mixed sessions or they were drum tracking sessions or any of the things that I do here, those stayed intact, but almost every one of my projects, except for one, are on hold. And the thing about what I do and what a lot of my friends on the other side of that camera and the other side of this microphone do, if we don't work, we don't eat. Now, I thought I was pretty smart. I thought that by setting up several other income streams and being in the process of setting up even more, that I would be able to get some things in place well enough to weather anything bad that might happen. Well, it got here a little earlier than I thought, and it's way worse. And so I'll give you a session ace in the last 2 weeks. We might have had 4 orders. That's almost a complete drop from everything. Like, it was great, fabulous, awesome to 4 is almost 0 compared to where we were. I do have a couple of students that we're doing some remote lessons with. I'm going to talk about that at another point, but it's basically the world pretty much just died and shriveled up as far as my business. And I know from seeing the stuff online with a lot of my friends, talking to my friends on the phone. I've been on the phone more this week, I think, than I've been in the last 3 months with people that I care about, people that I try and keep in touch with, people that I usually see on a regular basis. There's a lot of us that are feeling this in ways that I could have never imagined. So what I want to share with you are the discussions that I've had with myself. And I hope that this kind of information is helpful. What I don't want you to think is that I've got everything together, that I'm bulletproof, and that I've got all the answers, because I don't. I'm fishing and foraging for every answer I can find. And by all means, if you've got an answer, please, I'm listening. But these are some of the things over the course of I'm going to break this up into 3 parts because it may take a bit. We're going to talk about the things that I'm talking about to myself, and I'm writing down. You'll see me flipping through some pages. These are the notes that I've taken as I've just been sitting here in my house trying to figure this thing out. And it's tough. It's really tough. Without going too much into my personal life, we were already income strapped from all sides. We've been for the last several years, a lot of extenuating circumstances. It wasn't that, and in some cases, it wasn't that there wasn't work. It's just that basically our hands were like sieves. The money would fall into them and it'd fall right through them, and to take care of some of the other things that were going on. And we try to do some preparation for rainy days, but I didn't have preparation for monsoon. That's for sure. So we were already operating on much less capital than before. Rosemary just got a new job here in the last probably 6 weeks, and that's brought her back up to about maybe half of what she was making 2 or 3 years ago. Like I said, I saw the recession coming, and we can talk about it later, but the last time this happened, it started hitting me in 2005. Most people didn't see it till 2008. I saw it in my business and in my life. It started in 2005. So when I started seeing those same signs, we started getting ready for it. But anyway, that's another story for another time. The first thing that I want to talk with you about tonight, right now, it's Saturday at like 11:30. The first thing I want to talk to you about that I've been talking about with myself is, what do you do with all this free time? We don't have vacation leave. We don't have family leave. We don't have any of those things. If I'm not working, I'm not eating, not paying the bills. Luckily, thanks to Session Ace, I had at least one income stream that was scalable so that I wasn't trading time for dollars. But like I said, the last 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks, it's slowed down to, like I say, 4 orders. They'll go out. Those 4 that I'm thinking about right now will go out tomorrow. I'll have them boxed up and postage on them and ready to go out the door on Monday morning. But that's, unless somebody else order, by all means, I'm not going to advertise this, but if you want to help out, go to sessionace.com. Right now, all of the stuff that gets sold through sessionace.com, I'm not taking any. I haven't been peeling profit off of that for the 3 years the company's been going. It's either gone into R&D, or for the last year, it's been going into bank loan. So I've got about $11,000 in a bank loan left from the last production run. And right now, this will be the first month that I haven't paid it. And everything that gets sold through Session Ace will go to paying that bank loan back, because we're going to get through this. Luckily, with Session Ace, there's plenty of stock in the other room, the Session Ace room. There's plenty of stock. If somebody ordered 400 sets of EST ear monitors, they would go out the door today. So there's plenty of stock in the other room. But that move came with a loan. And so we got about $11,000 left on the loan. And so if you want to help with that, I won't be paying my light bill with it, but we'll pay a bank loan back with it. Here's the bank loans. Anyway, thank you to the bank for loaning that to me. It's been great for the business when people are there to buy stuff. Anyway, so back to the question. What do we do with all this free time? So I just started brainstorming on what could I be doing with my free time. And I want to start there, because I could start with how do I go make money? And that's one of the 3 segments we'll talk about, the 3 episodes, the 3 pieces. We're going to talk about that. I want to give you some solutions that I hope will work for you. But the first thing that we got to do is we got to take care of ourselves, and we got to take care of what's going on immediately around us other than our bills. Believe it or not, your bills are not the most important thing in your life. The people you owe money to, the people that put the lights on may beg to differ with me, but first thing, you need to keep doing something that's musically or creatively enriching, related to music, related to creativity. One thing that I've tried to double down on, especially since the first of the year, as much as I could, even through the knee injury, I've tried to practice more. During the knee injury, I put my practice into some other things that weren't the drums. But the idea here is that if you're a drummer, this is the perfect time for you to begin a daily regiment of an hour's worth of practice a day. Just go ahead and set that into your day. Now you don't have an excuse. You can get better at your instrument while all of this is going on. And so that by the time you get on the other side of this, and believe me, we're going to get over this. We're going to get to the other side. It's going to happen. But you want to be better then than you are now on all fronts, not just on your instrument, but all fronts. And that's kind of what I'm speaking to. So establish a practice regimen. Since you don't have anywhere to be in the mornings, we're all sitting in the house anyway. Don't start drinking until at least noon. And before that, say 9 o'clock. Use it as the thing that helps you get out of bed. I'm going to go practice. I'm going to do one thing today that makes me feel better about who I am and what I do and what's happening in my day. Because I guarantee you this, when you get in the practice room, the world will shut itself off. You can sequester yourself from everything, not just this stinking virus, but everything, if you just get in the practice room. While you're at it, and this is where I've had to spend a bit more of my practice time the last 6 weeks while I've been getting over this stress fracture in my leg, take the time to learn a new instrument. Or maybe if you're not learning a new instrument, maybe you take up something like, for drummers, maybe music theory is something that has always escaped you. You've never really been clued into, well, what is all this music theory, scales and chords and keys, any of that stuff. Maybe you, as a drummer, you spend some time working on music theory. YouTube is still free. And there's plenty of other resources online that are either free or cheap that you can learn music theory. Buy a $10 Udemy course on music theory. Watch some of Rick Beato's stuff. There's a lot of free music theory on there, on his YouTube channel. Songwriting. If you're a musician who plays a lot of cover music, and you've gotten really good at your instrument, but you haven't exercised the artistic part of what you do, meaning you're not writing songs, you're not writing things that come from inside you. As musicians who play a lot of cover music, we're used to mimicry. We're used to learning songs as they were recorded or close to the way they were recorded, but you need to take some time to reestablish who you are as an artist. What better time, right? And while you're doing that, you may find that maybe there's some skills that are lacking, some things that you don't know how to do that you need to be able to do, either in this time of growth and learning, or in the job that you've always had and the work you've always done. If you don't have a recording setup or you've never used any kind of recording software, now's the time to learn. You got plenty of time to sit with a computer, and it doesn't have to be Pro Tools. It can be Reaper. You can go to traction.com and you can get a copy of their free DAW to work with, and start with whatever equipment you've got sitting around. Right now, I have a feeling gear's going to be sold pretty cheap between friends and eBay and Facebook. And find some things that you can do that are going to help you with the work that you do now after all of this. Now, the world's going to be different. Let's just get that straight. We're not going back to what it was like before. We're not going to be able to. The world's going to be, even if this only lasts for 6 months, the world is going to be so different after that, and our modalities will be so different. Our pace will be so different. The way that we think about things will be so different. We're not going back. Now it's just a matter of, instead of turning back time, we got to figure out what we're going to do going forward. So if there's a new piece of hardware or some other kind of software or some other thing that's directly related to the areas of expertise that you currently already have, now's the time to spend more time with them. If you don't know anything about MIDI or MIDI sequencing, maybe this is the time for you to spend some time with it. Now, in and around that, maybe it's also time for you to learn a completely new skill that doesn't have anything directly related to what you do every day. Recording yourself, that's related to what you do. Even if you're just using your own practice time, it's related to what you do. But maybe video editing isn't. That's something I started taking up 10 years ago because I needed things like this. I need to be able to videotape myself for whatever reason and to be able to have it look pretty good and sound pretty good. So this is a great time for you to start learning some video editing skills. Whether it's a paid or a free piece of software, start somewhere. Maybe arranging and chart writing is something that you've never done, other than maybe writing your own charts for your own gigs. Maybe arranging, chart writing, and not just Nashville number charts. I mean, real, honest to goodness, like string parts, horn parts. I mean, piano scores, piano vocal scores, any kind of thing. Maybe it's time to actually learn how to do that. Maybe it's something that you've needed or someone that you've worked for has needed, but you haven't been able to offer that to them because you don't know how to do it. Photography. We all need pictures. And going forward, you're going to need better pictures. If you're going to keep doing what we do in this new world, you're going to need better pictures because you're going to have to get above all of the people that are taking pictures of themselves and their equipment and with their phones. You got to get above that. Just snap a picture with my phone, push it up to Facebook. Now, you don't have to go out and buy a camera because most of us need to save our money. But you can utilize some resources online or talk to a photographer friend you may have. Learn how to take better pictures on your phone. Maybe don't use the regular camera app on your phone. There are plenty of great camera apps that take full advantage of the camera on your phone. If you got a newer phone, anything definitely from an iPhone 8 on up, if you're using one of these other apps to take your pictures, you can get some pretty good pictures. And then if you toss that into any one of 3 or 4 different free programs that you can download and put on your computer, or if you have a copy of Photoshop, you never learned how to use it, now's the time. Throw it into something where you can touch up your pictures and make them look a little bit better. Work on the colors, work on the sharpness, work on maybe touching up little things. If you took a picture of yourself and you had a big zit on your face, then learn how to get rid of that thing. It sounds trivial. That sounds trivial, but it's the kind of thing that you're going to need more and more going forward. Because going forward, as professionals, if you do this for a living, you're going to have to be able to do it at a much higher level, and you're also going to have to be able to present yourself at a much higher level. The days of if you're just good enough at your instrument and you're a really nice guy and that's all you need, those days are gone too. They've been gone for a long time. I'll say that. I'll be the one guy in the room that will say that. Those days have been gone for a long time, but they are definitely gone now. It's not just about being good enough. And it's not just about being a good guy or a good gal, a good hang. If I had $1 for every time I heard somebody give me that argument, I wouldn't have any problems right now. I'd have a stockpile of money sitting there because you just don't have you don't know how many conversations I've had like that, man. But going forward, you can scratch that one off. That's not the world we're moving into. Something else you can do while we're talking about learning, and this is something I started doing at the beginning of this year in my room where we do the Session Ace stock and orders and all of that stuff. there was room for a workbench in there. And so at the beginning of the year, I bought a really good soldering iron, the kind like the maintenance guy that I use to fix my stuff uses. So I bought a soldering iron and all the tools that you need to be able to work on equipment. And so I started learning. I've soldered things before, but I've also ruined a lot of things doing it. I've really been working on my ability to repair things, to just do simple repairs on things that I knew were wrong. So learning to solder, learning to repair cables so that you don't necessarily have to just throw a cable out anymore. I've been taking some electrical engineering classes. Making this new Session Ace mic has really gotten me into the electrical engineering part of making the kinds of gear that I use. And so for me, having more knowledge about what all of those capacitors and resistors and all those different pieces that are inside a microphone are, that's something that's become a real area of interest for me. So a couple of months ago, I started taking some online electrical engineering courses. Not that I'm going to go get a job as an electrical engineer, but at the time, the idea was, well, instead of just being the artist in the room when it comes to designing a new product like a microphone, it'd be nice if I could actually have some intelligent input about the components that go into some of these things, instead of just relying on the people that had that knowledge and talking with them in these glittering generalities and having them translate it into actual real stuff. So maybe it's time. For me, creating new things, inventing new things, being able to repair my own gear. I've got a couple of things that need to be fixed, and I'm not going to spend money to have my guy fix them. I need to learn to fix them or learn to break them a couple of times before I can fix them is probably more likely. So that's something that's non-musical that's new for me and was new for me before all of this started. Maybe you take the time to learn a new language. Believe it or not, especially as we get more insulated, when I talk to you later on about maybe some ways to make some money, there are a lot more opportunities I could have right now to make more money doing the things that I do if I were fluent in more languages. Because if I were fluent in French or I were fluent in Spanish or Portuguese or any other of these languages that other people that make music that they speak in other countries, it'd be a lot easier for me to reach out globally to see what I could do right here from my own home base. But because I don't speak those languages, I don't have connections in those countries, I'm not able to put together content that speaks specifically to someone in France, that might need a drum track or something mixed or a drum lesson. I can't do those things. So maybe a new language is something that you start during this time. I'll take a cue from my buddy Zach Albetta, who, other than being a great drummer and a great teacher, he's a great cook. And cooking is something he's done for a long time. It has nothing to do with music, really. It's a non-musical skill. Maybe now's the time, if you already have an interest in food. My interest in food is in eating it and not cooking it. But if you have an interest in preparing food, maybe it's a great time to start taking some courses on cooking. I've got a subscription to, luckily, I'm good for a year of masterclass. I got that at Christmas, and they've got several great courses on cooking, whether it's Italian cuisine or French cuisine, or there's all kinds of stuff. And it's not just masterclass. Udemy's got classes, I'm sure. I mean, there are a lot of online places that you can go for cheap or free and get some classes on how to cook or how to do anything that's not necessarily music related. I'll throw this one out there because it could either be music related or not. Maybe it's time to get some business classes. something else I started doing this past year in 2019 was taking some bookkeeping classes and some office management classes, because I'm really my own office manager. I'm my own bookkeeper until I hand things off to an accountant to do taxes. And usually that's a nightmare. I mean, and right now I know that I'm a few weeks behind on my bookkeeping, and it's thankfully the classes are going to kick in and show me how to get everything caught up pretty quickly. But I've learned a lot that has got me more caught up. There have been times in the past where I've been 10, 11 months without catching up my bookkeeping, and not that it has affected my business, but it certainly makes your life easier when it comes time with things like bank loans. If your business needs a bank loan, whether you got a studio, you got some other kind of business where you need a bank loan. If you're having to catch up 11 months worth of receipts and get them all categorized in the right categories, then you're gonna be behind the 8 ball. So find some things that you can learn that are non-musical. Maybe it's time to organize your life. This guy. One of the things I did this week is tools. We've got 3 or 4 or 5 different toolboxes around this house with all kinds of different tools. And for whatever reason, anytime I need a tool, or most of the time when my wife needs a tool, we can't find them. We may find something that kind of works, but it's never in the toolbox that you're looking in. So one of my Organize Your Life projects this week has been organizing tools and trying to gather everything up, see what all we have, what's similar, what's different, how we can make sure that we have whatever's needed in whatever place these different toolboxes live, and also know where they live. Because there are a couple of toolboxes. I even found one this morning where I'm like, I didn't think we had any. I thought we looked for every toolbox around here. And, of course, I pulled one out of basically nowhere, behind a bookcase or something. It was crazy. I was looking for something else, and there's another bag of tools. It was crazy. Organize your life. Maybe organize your workspaces. For me, today, I've been doing a lot to reorganize my studio. It's gotten a little messy over the last week, trying to put some new things in place to be able to do live streaming in a few different places without carrying gear all around the place. The studio's definitely gotten a little disorganized this week. So past couple of days, I've taken some of this extra time to organize my workspaces and try and get the studio cleaned up. That bundle of cables that I've had sitting in my mic closet that are not cables I use a lot. It was time. I mean, it's just this huge ball of cables that I've always said, one day I'm going to get to it, or one day I'm going to put an intern on it. Well, I got through those this week and got those things separated and found out that some of those could live here. Some of them could live over in another place. I could have a completely different live streaming setup because I had some cables I didn't know I had, along with organizing my shelves and taking kind of an equipment inventory. I'm finding that actually I've got a few different groups of things sitting here that could be placed in different spots and make it easier. If I wanted to do an actual, fireside chat by the fire, it'd be as easy as just pull this one stand out with this one camera on it and go live on the internet. If you've got, we have this thing around my house called Johnny Drawers. My wife calls them that because my dad is, he's horrible about just opening a drawer and throwing something in it. He gets done. He's half used something like, a pack of colored electrical tape. And he pulled the blue out and he just throws the rest of the pack into a drawer. Not a specific drawer, the closest drawer. My mom sometimes, and my wife a lot of times, will just pick stuff up that are sitting on tables that didn't look like they belong there and throws them into a drawer. And so around this house, we probably got a dozen different Johnny drawers that are just full of just stuff. Maybe you got a lot of Johnny drawers around your house, around your workspace. You got some time to clean those things out, organize those things, find things in there that you've been looking for forever, and maybe put a little bit more system to where these things go and what you use them for, or where they need to live. Same way with your shelves. In my teaching room downstairs, I've got an old bookcase I've had since I've lived here, and in Atlanta. So it's a 24, 25-year-old bookcase that over the last 10 years has just gotten filled up with all kinds of stuff. There's books on it, but in between the books, there's just stuff there. There's feet for a conga. There's 3 or 4 different sets of headphones and headphone extension cables and drum parts, accessory clamps. There's just stuff that's just kind of crammed in these shelves. So on my list of things to do this week, I'm going through shelves and organizing shelves, pulling things off of there, separating things out, organizing my life and organizing my workspaces so that I get some semblance of order in my life. In this time when we don't have any sense of control or order, then maybe that's how you get it back for now. That being said, I hate yard work. I'll just say it. I like having a great looking yard. I hate being the one that has to do it. I spent about a year of my life when I was in my late teens, early 20s, before I went to college, as a greenskeeper on a golf course. It was about the same time that I was on food stamps, and making $5.16 an hour as the greenskeeper on a golf course. And that year has pretty much taken all the fun out of yard work for me. I know some people that love it. There's some people that love working on their grass and cutting their grass and trimming their hedges and making sure their flowers look pretty in their front flower box or whatever. You got some time, maybe you do some yard work. Maybe you get out there and rake the pine straw. Maybe you go out there and you clean up all that mess that's under the deck where you guys have just thrown things under there for 10 years. And now you just got a bunch of crap under there. You have no idea what's under there. Maybe you can paint something. Maybe the kitchen needs a new coat of paint. Paint's not super cheap, but it's not super expensive either. It'd be a lot less expensive to paint your kitchen than it would be to buy a new snare drum. So maybe you can paint a room in your house, or paint your mailbox, or paint your front door. Change something. Just get something where it feels new. Fix something. My son and I, we started this week fixing my lawnmower. It was on its last leg at the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, when we stopped cutting the grass. But we were using it to knock down. We were going to use it to knock down some weeds and pick up some other stuff that's just kind of fallen in the yard, and it didn't work. So and I had an idea that it probably wasn't going to work. I'll be honest. So we spent part of the day on YouTube and with the manual, and I turned it into a little bit of time with my son. I can't say that he enjoyed it, but I enjoyed having him there while we were trying to figure something out. And maybe it's a good time to get your kids, if you've got kids, enlist them in some of this help and turn it into a team sport, something that you can all do together that will help nurture you and nurture your bond with your kids. Maybe you just need some stuff fixed. Maybe the garbage disposal needs to be fixed. Maybe you need to tighten the connections on your kitchen sink where it's leaky, or put a new gasket in it. Go down to Home Depot and get a bag of gaskets and gasket up all of the different faucets in your house. Rearrange your furniture. If your wife's been complaining and griping about the living, mine hasn't. Mine won't let me touch the furniture. So Another story for another time. Uh, but maybe it's time to rearrange your furniture. Maybe you just need a new feel, a new arrangement in your living room, so it just feels like something new has happened. It feels like a breath of fresh air in some way. Phone a friend. Like I said earlier, I've talked to more people on the phone this week than I have probably in the last 3 months. Now, some of them are people that I love a lot, and we have other ways we communicate: text, direct messages, online, all kinds of different ways. But start phoning your friends to stay connected. Just to say, hey, now you have an excuse to check on them. You got an excuse to find out if they got a virus or not, or are you having trouble breathing? I got an extra albuterol inhaler. You need one of those? You've got a very specific reason to call a friend and make sure they're okay now. And do that. I'm the world's worst at small talk. That's probably why I don't use the phone more. Somehow I find it easy to get in front of this camera and in front of a microphone and talk to you this way. But I find it really uncomfortable, whether it's in person or on the telephone, to have small talk. To just, hey, how's it going? Oh, it's going good, man. What are you doing? Oh, just nothing, same old, same old. Like, I don't know why I'm uncomfortable with that, but I am. This has forced me, because now I have a reason to check on people and make sure they're okay. It's forcing me to get better with the small talk and really just try and connect with people in a way that if I'm not going to see them, most of the people I talk to, I see them at least every couple of weeks, once a month maybe. So I'm going to see them. But in this case, now I'm not. I don't know. I may not see them for 2 more weeks. I may not see them for 2 more months. We don't know. We really don't know. So phone a friend, stay connected. Try using FaceTime and Skype video and Zoom, some way that you can see the person while you're talking with them. Now, you might not do that with everybody, but you're really close friends that you normally go to lunch with. As they start to lock more and more places down, right now, if I wanted to go have lunch with my buddy Shannon, there's not a restaurant for us to go have lunch at. If we're going to have lunch, either he's going to come over here and we're going to grill out, or I'm going to go over there, and I guess we'd grill out over there too, or we're going to make our own lunches and we're going to show up at the park or something, So try and use video as, at least for now, as the surrogate for the time you'd normally get face-to-face with people that you see all the time, the people you care about. It'll help you stay connected. It'll help keep your spirits up, and I guarantee it's going to help keep their spirits up. This was a big one, not for me, but for me to say to you, read. And don't read the headlines. Don't read the websites, especially political websites. Don't go to CNN.com and FoxNews.com and MSNBC.com and Politico.com and HuffingtonPost.com and stay off of those places. Get a book. If you got books around your house that you bought and you haven't had time to read, now you got time to read them. Not only do you have time to read them, you got time to really ingest them and sit with the material in those books. If you need an escape, instead of turning on the TV and binge watching Netflix, how about binge read the new Tom Clancy novel or something that you've had sitting on your? You can see how much I read fiction, right? Dan Brown. I don't know. I don't read fiction. For me, I've been trying to get through Daniel Kahneman's new book, which is like 450 pages of really laborious reading. But it's given me time in that particular book, and Thinking Fast and Slow, it's given me time to actually take my pen and underline things and write stuff in the margins and ask myself about the things that I'm reading. So take some time and read. If you've got an iPad or you've got a tablet, get some Kindle books. They're $10 or $15 for a really good one, but there's also a lot of Kindle books that are $2 and $3. Here's a great hack for you that I just learned in the last couple of months. I didn't even really realize this. Scrib.com or Scribd, the service, whatever. It's like $8 a month. There's a ton of books on there. Books that I've bought. I mean, books that I've spent. If I tallied up all the money I've spent with Kindle books, good Lord, hundreds if not thousands of dollars in books that were free on Scribd, whatever the name of that thing is. It's like $8 a month. Then you only keep the books as long as you're paying the $8 a month. But believe me, I spend way more than $8 a month on books. So there's a lot of books up there. Not every book that you'd find in Kindle or Amazon, but more than you've read at this point. And there's plenty of books on a lot of the topics that you would want to read about. So pay for it for a month, and try that through your iPad or your tablet, or however. If you don't have either one of those, you can read them on your phone as well. That's about what your phone's good for, besides talking with friends now. You could also use your phone while we're talking about phones. Listen to podcasts. You're listening to this one if you're getting the audio feed. If you're watching it, you're watching YouTube or you're watching Facebook. But catch up on your podcasts. Find new podcasts. I said before, I don't really read a lot of fiction, but there are a lot of really good fiction podcasts. If you need an escape, instead of vegging out in front of the television and watching every episode of Lost in Space on Netflix, or worse, every episode of Breaking Bad because you've never seen it, that would take 6 months. Instead of doing that, listen to a podcast. It's funny because when you listen to, especially some of the fiction podcasts that are really dramatic and they've got actors and they've got sound, it gets your imagination going. That goes right back to the creativity related stuff. One of the reasons why reading is so important is because when you're reading, the story is going on in your mind. The words are on the page, but that's not where the story lives. The story lives up here. And all too many people are not taking time to create stories up here, to create mental pictures, to work things out in their brain using the words on the printed page. Now's a good time. Now's a good time. If you need some new ideas, if you need some fresh perspectives, you can get plenty of it in podcasts. And I'll guarantee you this, if you're listening to the right podcasts, they're way better than the news. They're way better than all the political stuff going on. They're way better than the punditry that's everywhere in our world right now. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is I'm trying to encourage you to, I call it diversifying your portfolio. Most people think of that as being financial. Considering the financial crisis we're in right now, it might not be the best words to choose, but really it is. You can take this time to learn to be more than you are now. Take that however you want, but this is the perfect time because you've got unfettered, unshackled, completely free time. And you can choose to do something with it that isn't mindless, that can be constructive, that can help you to learn and grow and be a little more tomorrow than you are today. And so by the time we get through this crisis and we can go back to our malls and we can go back to our restaurants, we can go back to our gigs, we can go back to whatever the world looks like after all of this, there'll be a little bit more, maybe a whole lot more of you to go out into the world than there was before. There can be more up here. There can be more in here. There can be more here. Your hands can learn to do more in this time that we've got free. So that's my encouragement for you. Diversify your portfolio of who you are as a person during this time. That's why I'm thinking of this as a gift. It's a little weird, I know, but I'm thinking of this whole worldwide conundrum that we're going through. I'm thinking of it as a gift. It's a gift that we won't realize how important it is until long after the moment has passed. It's sort of like getting a sweater for Christmas when you wanted a fire truck. But you don't realize how valuable the sweater is until you step outside and it's 10 below. And you need something to keep you warm. And that fire truck, it might put out fires, very tiny fires. But it's not going to keep you warm like that sweater is going to keep you warm. So thank you, Grandma, for that sweater. I thank you for sitting and listening and watching. And after this goes up and people have had a little bit of time to digest it, I'm going to jump on some of the live things, the live Facebook stuff that I do. I'm going to start doing more live YouTube stuff as more subscribers come in over there. And just to interface with you and to be able to talk with you and assure you that everything's going to be okay. It sucks. It's not great right now, but we're going to get through it. And it doesn't matter how many robocalls you get about your mortgage not being paid. We're going to get through this. Please stay safe. Both safe out in your space, but stay safe in here too, please. Thank you. Cheers.